You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Thank you for listening to The Lyndia Grant Show here on Spirit 1340 WYCB. We are the oldest gospel radio station in the district area, and we're the first contemporary gospel outlet in the United States. Today is Friday, March 22nd, 2024. Our show is heard throughout the DMV live at 6 p.m. Well, we pre-record now at Eastern Time, and we're on YouTube each and every week. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go and look for the Lyndia Grant Show, Think on These Things. Welcome to today's show. My guests are our one and only Dr. Julianne Malvo, and in part two, we're going to be talking to Attorney Amber Rivers from the U.S. Department of Labor. She's going to talk to the listeners about making sure you got your proper health care. She's going to tell you what to say when you go and talk to your benefits office. And Dr. Julianne Malvo, you all know, but I'd like to give a little bit about her. She's a speaker, economist, former college president, former university dean, author, and speaker extraordinaire. Dr. Julianne, what you got good for us this week?
Girl, it's going on. I want to start with some very good news. 6 white deputies, sheriffs, etc., law enforcement people in Rankin County, Mississippi, they call themselves a goon squad. They bust into these brothers' house. Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker were their names. Bust into their house, beat them, sexually assaulted them. One of those guys took his gun and shot one of these brothers in the mouth. He claimed he was playing. Well, you don't play like that. The man's tongue was damaged, and he still has trouble speaking. In any case, this week they'll all be sentenced, and the first sentencing was 20 years. Talk about dancing in the street. See, lynching culture allows white people to do whatever they want to black people and expect no consequences. So when they bust into those people's house, they thought, oh, well, we just busted into their house. They can't do anything about it. Well, Malik Shabazz, a D.C.-based attorney, was their lawyer, and they did something about it. This man is going to spend 20 years in jail, and good for him. One of the brothers actually stood up in court today, Tuesday, and said he forgave the man. Well, he's a bigger person than I am. His colleague said he didn't forgive. His friend said he did not forgive. And how would you forgive? They were beaten. They were stripped naked. They did all kind of things to them, used all kind of profanity with them. It's bone chilling, but at least, so it looks like they're all going to get 20 years or something close to that. So that is just a blessing. Now, this is Women's History Month, and, of course, there was a White House reception to celebrate Women's History Month. At the front of the room were Dr. Jill Biden, First Lady, President Biden, and, of course, our own Vice President Kamala Harris, who gave an amazing speech and talked about the accomplishments of the Biden administration have been, especially toward women. One of the things that she lifted up was the amount of student loan debt that has been forgiven. And as you know, women carry almost 2/3 of the student loan debt, and black women are more likely than any other women to have student loan debt. So she was at the top of her form, and it really does remind me, it raises questions for me about all these haters. There was one of those little Washington Post columnists who said Kamala needs to resign for the sake of the party so that they can get somebody else to be vice president. And to that I say, you know what? I don't say it on this religious program, but you know what I'm thinking. You know, absolutely what I'm thinking. So that was a great Women's History celebration. In honor of Women's History, I want to think about some of those women that we love, our leaders, Daisy Bates from Little Rock, who basically shepherded the Little Rock Nine. Want to think about Septima Clark. So many black women who don't get mentioned that often. Last time you heard somebody talk about Daisy Bates. These women basically made history, and so we all have to always honor them. Now, to the comic part of my commentary today. And if you had a laugh track, please play it. Trump is broke. He 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 he. He can't find anybody to give him a bond for $464 million that's being required by Tish James and the New York case. Now, he runs around bragging. How often have you heard him brag about how rich he was? He's a billionaire. But he doesn't have $464 million. He will have to either start selling property. He's going to have to do something if he wants to. They're requiring this bond. I think the deadline is the end of the month. So he's got to figure out what he's going to do. And, I mean, like I said, I'm just cracking up. You so rich? You so rich? You so rich? Anyway, neither here nor there. He's already had to put up a bond for the case with E. Carroll, the woman that he was found guilty of sexually assaulting in a dressing room at Bergdorf Goodman's. So he already has it's a $91 million bond because he has to pay her $88 million, and interest is ticking up every single day. So, yeah, let's just leave him alone. But I just had to have that comic relief. Here's some more comic relief. Peter Navarro was forced to turn himself in today to go to jail. Peter Navarro was one of the Trump advisors. He's, I believe he's a Harvard-trained economist, touched all the boxes, but he insisted on lying. And then what happened, the reason he's in jail is because he was subpoenaed by Congress to come and talk, and he refused. He said he was dealing with the separation of powers. But guess what? He could have come in and pled the fifth. He just was being defiant, and so his defiance has cost him. He's going to be in jail for 4 months. Oh, well, everybody can laugh again. Our dear friend, we keep going back to serious topics. Our dear friend, the Honorable Marcia Fudge, her last day at the Department of Housing and Urban Development will be the 22nd. She has served since the beginning of the Biden administration, but she is leaving partially because the political gridlock is such, like she said, she can't do anything. There's nothing else she can do. And she's leaving her department in the hands of her able deputy, Adrian Codman. However, with this Congress, you can't even pass a gas without a law. And so she said she's going home to spend some time with her 92-year-old mother. She's looking for other opportunities, but she also is probably going to be involved in some aspect in the election. I'm excited for her. She is a friend in the soror. I'm excited about all the things that she's going to be able to do. Now, inflation, let's do the economy for a minute. Gas prices are up by about 10%. The average national price of gas is $3.45 a gallon, but we've seen it be down as low as $3.19, $3.07 in the past few months. From January, the price of gas has gone up by 40 cents, or more than 10%. So President Biden has been talking about the progress that he's made, and he has made enormous progress. Inflation this time 18 months ago was at 10%. So it's down to like 3.5%. But people don't pay attention to the big number, 3.5. They pay attention to what they buy. If you buy eggs, you've been in shell shock. If you buy gasoline, you're now experiencing a 10% price increase. So it's not just a big picture; it's a little picture as well. So that is high in the news. Now, this week, people from Haiti are going to be meeting with the House Foreign Relations. We'll be meeting, I think, on Thursday. Congressman Greg Meeks, who heads that committee, because Haiti has become, for want of a better word, a hot monkey mess. The gangs let the people out of jail. Crime is beyond out of control. This is part of this is on the floor of the United States. We have ignored Haiti. We have not provided with the aid they've requested, and we've propped up a dictator who resigned, and all bets are off. But Haiti will be in the news, and Haiti is in the news. Dr. Ron Daniels from the Institute for the Black World and the Haiti Support Group will be in Washington on Thursday. So to meet with some of these Congress people, and there'll be a huge rally at Metropolitan AME Church on Thursday evening to give people more information about Haiti. Haiti, many of us, like myself, I am of Haitian American descent. My maternal grandfather was Haitian. Many of us have those roots. We can't let this country go out in chaos. But the Haitian people are saying, don't come in here and impose a decision, listen to us and what we need and what we want. So it's a mess there. We have to say it's a mess, but it's a mess that can be fixed. If I have, do I have more time?
But 1 minute more.
Okay, in my last minute, let me just talk about the Supreme Court blocking Texas. Texas passed a law that said law enforcement could just arrest anybody if they suspected them of being an illegal immigrant. You know that essentially falls heavily on our Latino brothers and sisters. So the United States Supreme Court said, no, you cannot have that law. It's called Senate Bill 4 in Texas. It is an open invitation to profiling. Immigration issues have not been fixed, and Black Americans are all over the place about immigration. But we know is that people have to be treated humanely, and that is not happening. And speaking of humanely, it's projected that by May, Gaza will be in a famine. People are dying from starvation in Gaza, and Netanyahu is being just very, very rigid about what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. He and President Biden had their first conversation this week. They hadn't spoken in over a month, and so I'm hoping that will be a fruitful resolution and that we can get some humanitarian aid into Gaza. So that's it for me this week, Lyndia.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Julian. We'll talk to you again next week.
Have like the winner. Take care.
All right. Now we're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired. But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in." Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it, be inspired.
And we are back from our commercial break. You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Now we're going to go to our second guest. Her name is Amber Rivers. She is the director at Employee Benefit Security Administration, United States Department of Labor. She has been working with the department for 15 years. Amber attended Rutgers University for her Bachelor of Arts degree, and she graduated from George Washington University Law School. Today, Amber and I are going to talk about, to you listeners, about a Women's History Month topic, talking healthy lifestyle for women. She's going to talk to us about protections and benefits that are available through your health care that you may not be aware of. So, Amber, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm so happy to be here and to talk to all of your listeners and to talk with you, Lyndia. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. I tell you, it's always good to have someone on. Your staff assistant was she was persistent the way that I normally am. So we are truly happy to tell Darlene I said hello. All right. So, Amber, you have the floor. Start talking to us about it. And if I have some questions, I'll jump in.
Sure. I'm happy to jump right in. So, given that this is Women's Health, History Month, we want to just make sure that it's really important that women understand their rights under the law and the benefits and protection that is afforded to them, right? Because if you don't know what's out there and what protections are available, how can you actually exercise those rights? And I think it's important to just know about this in terms of healthcare disparities that exist for women. I think we can all probably relate to this. There was a study that found that women aren't always taken as seriously as men when they express concerns about their health. So, you may go to the doctor and express some concerns that may not be heard or taken as seriously. And the study also talked about how many times providers estimate that women have less pain or are more likely to exaggerate that. And so that kind of plays into healthcare disparities. There was another study that talked about surgeons were more likely to recommend a knee replacement for a man who had moderate knee osteoarthritis than a woman who had the same disease with the same severity. And so you can just look around, and there are so many areas where healthcare disparities exist. There was a CDC study as well that talked about women are almost twice as likely than men to have depression. And so these are real issues that affect women, and I think it's important that we understand our rights under the law, to really help to mitigate and combat these healthcare disparities. And I think another area that we can all relate to is that in addition to the healthcare disparities, there's also societal, familial, and other factors that contribute to those disparities, right? I think there was a recent AARP study that talked about women being caregivers 3 out of 5 times, right? And so us being more likely to be caregivers, I think that can recognize how busy women can be. It's another obstacle that may be in the way from obtaining the care that is necessary. Also, too, talks about women being more likely than men to experience times when they need to take off from work but are unable to. And it's one of the more common reasons was needing leave to take care of their own illness. And so all of these factors really contribute to creating a situation where women are facing a lot of barriers to obtain the care that they need. I think just another important area to talk about, given that, we're talking about women's health, is maternal health. And that's just an area where I think it's been in the news and it's very prevalent that there are a lot of issues here that really impact women. I think there was a study that said that about 2.2 million women of childbearing age live in a maternity care desert, and that's going to be a county where there are no maternity care centers or obstetricians. And so just imagine, being pregnant in one of these areas and how difficult it could be to receive care.
And it's sort of like the old days when like my mom, midwives and people having babies at home or going through having babies along the road trying to get there. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is. And again, I'm going to talk about protections and things that we shouldn't have to essentially deal with these, but these are real barriers that are facing women that are impacting their ability to obtain care. And so, I think in 2021, over 1,200 women died of maternal causes in the United States. And to your point, where you're looking back in history to talk about what was happening to some of our ancestors in terms of childbirth, and today we're still facing some of those issues. And so it's really important.
It sounded like some of the stuff my mom used to say. She's gone on now. Because when I was born, Amber, I weighed 13 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And she tells me she was born at home. Well, she said the doctor had to go to get stuff to help deliver me 3 times, she said.
Oh, wow.
Now, he was driving a car. It wasn't like he was on a horse and buggy. But the point is, that's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
But it sounds
crazy.
like some of the stuff that if people are out there in a maternity desert and there's nobody there to take care of them. So anyway, I just wanted to add that.
That's an important anecdote to just, stop and just kind of reflect that, these issues are still persisting. And, I'm so glad that you were able to have me on the show because, you might think that this is an isolated incident and it's something unique to you and that there isn't anything that you can do about it. And so it's really important to, shed light on this issue and make sure that women are aware that there are rights and that there are things that can be done to address this. So I'm just glad we're able to talk about this.
Mm-hmm. Well, talk about some what can they do? Can they talk to their insurance companies at work, or tell them what to do?
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to tell them what to do is to make sure that they kind of look at their coverage. If you are receiving health insurance through your employer, and most Americans under the age of 65 will most likely be receiving health insurance through their employer, there are a number of documents that they're required to give you to make sure you know what your coverage includes. And what's important about a lot of those coverages is that my agency actually regulates that coverage that is offered through your employer. And so there are certain protections that just automatically come when you get health coverage through your employer. And so one thing I want to highlight is that the Affordable Care Act provides a lot of important protections specifically for women. For example, there are a host of preventive care services that are available without any cost. No cost sharing can be imposed that's required to be provided under most health plans that are offered by employers. So these are going to be things for, breastfeeding support and counseling if you're a pregnant woman, cervical cancer screening, tobacco intervention and counseling, domestic and interpersonal violence screening, maternal depression screening. I can keep going, and it probably would take too long to cover, but there is hundreds of services that your health plan needs to cover without cost to help you essentially identify and mitigate certain conditions. And so I think it's very important to request that documentation from your health plan so you can know that, hey, I'm entitled to this colonoscopy without cost sharing because I qualify for it. And so I think it's very important that women understand that they have these benefits and it's without cost, because that can sometimes serve as a barrier for individuals seeking care.
Amber, can I just ask, have you heard that any companies are not offering it just because people don't know, they don't say, and then they just cut back? Or is that just you want them to know so they can ask for it?
Right. So if you are, again, there are certain health plans that are required to by law. So even if you don't know about it, that health plan is required to give you these services without cost sharing, these preventive services under the Affordable Care Act. And so they are required not only to give you these services, but there are certain documents that have to be provided every year to you highlighting the availability of these services. And the other great part of my agency is not only are they overseeing the health plans, but we're also here to help individuals navigate. So if, let's say, you lost your document or you're not sure exactly where to get started, you can actually reach out to us. We have regional offices all across the country. We have a 1-866 number that I'm happy to share, or you can even just Google Ask EBSA, and my agency will pop up. You can submit a question, and we have hundreds of what we call benefits advisors and they don't like when I call them consumer reps, but essentially they're like customer service reps that are here to help you and assist you with understanding your benefits, understanding your rights. Let's say if you need to go get a service, they can help you read those documents to know what you're entitled to, and they can help if your health plan says, actually, no, we don't think so. They're actually available to help you go back and forth to make sure you get the coverage that you're entitled to. So I do want to plug our Benefits Advisor program, and I'll say it here. It's 1-866-444-3272. And you can call there anytime or Google Ask EBSA if you prefer to submit a question or inquiry in writing. We are available to help. And so this may be overwhelming or you may just have a question. We are here to assist to ensure that you understand your rights and receive the protections that you're entitled to under the law.
And what is the first part of that number again?
Sure. It's 1-866-444-3272.
Okay, I got it. I just wanted to make sure. So when I posted the copy of the show on Facebook, I want to also put that number with it.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, give me some closing comments because we only have a 30-minute show, and we've already talked for about more than 10 minutes already.
Sure. So, again, I just, in light of this being Women's History Month and with our focus on health care, just remember that the Department of Labor's Employee Benefit Security Administration is committed to protecting women's rights and to ensuring that they're aware of their rights under the law. And so we conduct outreach events. And again, we're here to help if you have a particular question. We are just here as a resource. And so I'm really excited to be here, and I thank you for your time, Lyndia. And I hope that some women will reach out and get the benefits that they are entitled to.
And let me ask you this. Do you have a team that go out into the neighborhood, like to churches or to Zoom meetings to share information like this?
Yes. So just this last year, our benefits advisors and other employees in our agency conducted over 126 events that were just geared towards women. So this is not all events. This is just events specific to women. And about 8,000 women attended those events. So if you go to our website and you subscribe, you can get notifications when we may be in your area to talk specifically about all the protections that are available to you under the laws that we administer.
Thank you so much, Amber Rivers. We are so happy that you were able to be on our show to give that good information from the U.S. Department of Labor. Well, folks, that does it for our show this week. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. A copy will come right to your telephone automatically. Read my column every week in the Washington Informer newspaper and give us a call at 240-602-6295. Join us at the All Nations Baptist Church where our pastor is the Reverend Dr. James Coleman, and we are located at number 2 Rhode Island Avenue, Northeast, Washington, D.C. A special invitation I'm sending out to all of the listeners. Join us for Good Friday service at 12 noon, Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, where the pastor is Reverend Dr. Terry Streeter. The church is located at 215 Rhode Island Avenue, Northwest, Washington, D.C. Service will start at 12 noon. My church, the All Nations Baptist Church, is the host church this year. We hope to see you there. We hope you enjoyed Dr. Julianne Malvo and Amber today. And let me go to my close. Earl Nightingale once said, words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect. So be careful what you send out, because we do become what we think about. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So think on these things from the Lyndia Grant Show. I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.